tell you about the time a polar bear tried to climb on my car. You really have to see it to believe it.
He's sticking his nose into the doorknob. Trying to nibble into it. Oh my gosh! Are you videotaping this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
We got paw prints.
My husband was taking that video. We had just gotten married, and 4 days later, we decided to move to Alaska. We were both teachers at the time, off to have a new adventure in the Arctic. We had very little food, very little furniture, and we really had no clue about how to be an adult. I learned that you can't put a head of lettuce in the freezer. It turns slimy. I also learned you can't put bacon grease down the drain, much to the chagrin of my husband. And really, we learned mostly that you have to venture out in order to have those adventures. And that's how I had my first encounter with a polar bear. That whole first year was full of fears and failures that got me to some of my most amazing firsts. And that is the beginning of the equation that I would like to teach you today. Fears plus failures equals firsts. How many of you would jump at an opportunity that you had already failed at? Most of us are too afraid to make mistakes. We shy away from our failures. But if you want to find a way of how to overcome obstacles, I find myself turning to individuals with autism. This is the unique population that I work with. Let me tell you what I know and what I've learned from this amazing group of people. I've been in the field of education for 15 years. I have devoted my career to the world of autism. At first, I got in this field because I wanted to teach and grow and help individuals with autism overcome their obstacles. But what really happened is they have helped me to overcome mine. Firsts look different for everybody, especially in the world of autism. Autism can best be described using the term neurodiversity, which really just means a different way of thinking and of seeing the world around them. But it all starts with the same, fear. And this is the beginning of the equation. Fear of the unknown, fear of difficulty or uncertainty, these are all things common with autism, but I'm sure you can relate to them as well. The tricky part is embracing your fear and learning how to own your differences. I see individuals with autism do this every day. For example, I had a student who was afraid of escalators, but he really wanted to ride one. We'd go on shopping trips to the mall, and he would watch people go up and down them and put one foot on and one foot off. And when he finally learned how to ride an escalator, clinging to me, it was a joy to see. I also have a student who wanted to ride the water slide. We read stories about it. I gave her strategies to help her prepare. But at the top of that water slide, she was like a starfish clinging to a tunnel. We've all looked down that tunnel of fear before. You have to practice feeling the fear. You have to practice failing in it. Sometimes people with autism will use phrases that they say to themselves out loud. Like my friend Sadie, who always says, "Find your courage, find your courage." Saying things out loud can bring you back to the present and out of the worries of your mind. Self-affirmations are a great tool to combat fear. The next part of the equation is failure. I watch individuals with autism overcome obstacles and barriers every day. They've learned they have to overcome their fear, and they've learned that failure is just part of it. They may have sensory issues or dislike crowds, but if there's something they really want to go to, like a birthday party, they just have to endure it. They find strength in their failure and overcome their fear. For example, I had a student named Jacob, and when I first met him, he had very little social interactions and had so much fear about uncertain places and fear of the unknown. He would spend hours a day in my office upset, trying to avoid situations of discomfort. However, he learned that there are other options. He learned how to use those fears and failures to his advantage. He loves cars more than anything else in the world, and at last year's Chicago Auto Show, he got to have an amazing first for himself. He overcame his fear and failure, and so can you. Allow yourself to have those firsts. This brings me to the final part of my equation, firsts. Think of some of your most memorable firsts. A first date, your first child, a first time on an airplane. Think about your heart pounding and all of the failed attempts that it took for you to get there. You've already had so many firsts that have gotten you to this point of your life. But what you really have to do is learn how to embrace those fears and embrace those failures to get to those firsts. Some of our best firsts are going to require you to be braver than you'd ever know. It's less about the big firsts and more about a bunch of little firsts put together. Try taking a big, scary first and breaking it into small, manageable pieces, like my friends with autism do. For example, if you want to try a new career or have a new job, start with something simple like just updating your resume, a small commitment towards a bigger goal. I asked a coworker with autism how she prepared for her first big speech at a charity event. Most people are more afraid of public speaking than death, and here she was speaking confidently and eloquently. When I asked her for advice on how to give this TED Talk, she said, "Breathe the fear in, breathe the fear out." I found this very telling because she didn't tell me not to be afraid, because she knows that fear is part of it. And that's the thing with autism. You have to persevere. They are stronger and braver than me for it. Their strength is in their struggle. And when I asked another coworker with autism how she overcomes her struggles and how I can, she said, you have to learn to fail faster. Fail faster. And this is what I have learned from autism and what you can learn. Go for that new job you want. Go try that new hobby. Go have your own polar bear moment. Because on the other side of those fears and failures could be some of the most amazing firsts that you're waiting for. Firsts are often about defying the odds. And I see individuals with autism do this every day. We can learn from their example. As humans, we really aren't all that different. We all have fear and apprehension, whether we have autism or not. But the important question is, are you willing to overcome your fear and your failures to get to some of your amazing firsts? It's your turn to defy the odds.